Photosensitivity warning. Video contains footage of a prolonged time-lapse with quickly moving action. Crystal sits on the edge of a cliff overlooking the city of Boulder.
What am I doing with my hands?
Crystal and Matt are hunting. Crystal is excited. Setting up a blind. Crystal and Matt are hunting. Opening up a big game brochure. Waving. Blowing a balloon. A family eating.
My first big game hunt, field dressing.
I'm not going to teach you how to field dress because, quite frankly, I'm not qualified. But I have a few really important things that I want to talk to you about while you watch Matt teach me how to field dress my deer.
Time-lapse of the video, how to field dress a pronghorn.
We didn't get a chance to film gutting the deer I harvested in the field because it was really dark by the time we got our supplies from the truck. But we just came out with a 12-minute video on how to gut big game, featuring Crystal Chick from the small game episode and Ginny Sednek, a first-time big game hunter herself, who works in Colorado Parks and Wildlife's education section. There's a link to that full video in the YouTube description below. Now, let's skip over to the rest of the process as I give you some tips I learned along the way.
Crystal's in a garage with Matt Dunphy.
If you grew up in the country like I did, you're probably used to seeing big game hanging from frames, jungle gyms, trees, or forklifts. It was getting dark when I harvested my white-tailed doe, and there weren't any trees around for miles, so we called someone with a nearby garage and a forklift for help.
They hang the deer from a forklift by his legs.
I was uncomfortable hanging the deer upside down like that. It somehow seemed disrespectful. But Matt explained to me that it's the best way to make sure dirt and debris don't contaminate the meat, and that wasting her meat would indeed feel much worse. I knew he was right, so we got started. But that didn't make me feel any less queasy.
Crystal takes a knife and begins to skin the deer.
Even though there are lots of field dressing resources online, I have to recommend having someone show you in person. Not only that, find someone that will let you do the work, guiding you verbally, instead of just having you watch. The only time Matt was hands-on was to quickly show me new techniques, or when I felt like I was about to ruin a piece of meat and needed an experienced hand to make a correction.
Crystal and Matt continue to skin the deer, pulling the skin down.
The laws and regulations regarding field dressing vary for each species and each state you hunt in. It's extremely important to know how you have to field dress game in the state you hunt in, so that you can remain a legal and ethical hunter.
Close-up of a fully skinned deer carcass.
In Colorado, you have to field dress and take with you all edible portions of meat from the animal as defined in the game brochures. Otherwise, that's just poaching. So if you harvest a giant elk and you get tired of packing it out after 3 trips and leave the hind quarter,
Matt and Crystal,
that's poaching.
remove the legs of the deer.
You have to take everything you can eat as stated in the regulations. Even if it's allowed in other states, there's no trophy hunting here in Colorado.
Matt and Crystal quarter out the carcass of the deer.
Make sure your hunting license is filled out and attached to the animal throughout the whole process, preferably to the portion that has evidence of sex still attached. You want to make it as easy as possible for a wildlife officer or a park ranger to check you.
Only the legs are left hanging.
If you have any questions, don't hesitate to call a Colorado Parks and Wildlife officer or the district wildlife manager in your area to get clarification. And remember, if you want to learn how to field dress using the internet, find a video that's specific to your state to ensure you are following all the rules and regulations that apply.
Close-up of all of the deer meat inside the cooler.
Okay, so I have my deer in the cooler and I'm going to show you.
Crystal opens the cooler with the venison meat inside.
That's 2 layers of meat there. Look at that, we got the hindquarters, evidence of sex attached, my tag. It's all this meat, there's hamburger over there, back strap in there. And I'm going to feed my family.
Crystal smiles. Crystal sits on a cliff overlooking the city of Boulder.
Once I got past a certain point, it was pretty interesting to see where the different cuts of meat come from. I didn't know what a tenderloin was until I field dressed my deer. And now every time I eat it, even if it's a piece from the store, I have that connection and that knowledge. I'll link to some of the field dressing videos put out by Colorado Parks and Wildlife in the YouTube description below. Check them out. If there's a new species you'd like to see us field dress, leave a comment below.
My first big game hunt, field dressing. Crystal looks at the camera.
Hey everyone, thanks for following along on my big game hunting journey. Hunting license dollars are a super important source of funding for the wildlife conservation work that Colorado Parks and Wildlife does for all species in Colorado, not just the game species you can hunt. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to buy a hunting license. If you've ever thought about going hunting or just considered the possibility, be sure to hit up our website or give us a call for more information. We'll link all the information in the YouTube description. If you like this video series and you want to see more videos that we make at Colorado Parks and Wildlife, be sure to subscribe on the YouTube link below. Thanks for watching.
Colorado Parks and Wildlife logo, live life outside.